Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I have a very different conversation with Ellie, the founder of Unbridling the Soul in West Cork. The very lovely Ellie provides a very unusual range of healing services, both in person and remotely, but not via the Zoom or Microsoft Teams variety. I met with her at her beautiful idyllic home in West Cork, which she shares with her daughter and some horses that she uses as part of her work. Ellie chats about her early life, and how this brought about an extremely strong connection to animals, which has continued to this day. As well as developing the ability to communicate with animals, she also has the ability to see and communicate with the spirits that surround us. Following her curiosity and exploring these unusual gifts led her away from an early career as a chef to founding her own business that now helps people and animals who may be in some distress. To better understand what she does, she shares a very unusual story about a dog called Max and the spirits that were disturbed when the house where he lived was renovated. Let's hear from Ellie. Ellie.
Yes, Greg.
A huge welcome to the Win Happy podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, Greg.
The first one that I'll be recording this year. And my God Almighty, you couldn't pick a better place and a better person to do it with.
It's beautiful here. Yeah.
So I want you to make every listener as jealous as hell and tell them what we're looking out at.
Okay. We are in this light-filled kitchen living room. The sun is streaming in all the windows. There's windows on all sides. And we are looking out at, if there was no walls, well, it would be a 360 view, wouldn't it? But it's a very, very expansive view of rolling hills, like miles and miles, hills and countryside and trees and different shades of green and brown. And there's a sense of spaciousness and light and expansiveness that's here. It's I found really calming.
The choosing of this place as a place to live, that was important to you. What we're seeing outside isn't an accident, is it?
No, I feel it was really synchronistic. I do believe in synchronicities and timing. I had lived in East Cork for a long time, like almost 20 years, and I was moving there and life circumstances had changed. I was consciously moving from there. And I was looking at the west coast of Ireland, Greg. I love all the west coast. I was looking at Sligo and Galway and Clare and everywhere, and beautiful places up there. And I'm glad I did look, because then when this kind of came on the radar, and then the day trips down here and coming down and looking at it, there was something shifted in my soul of like this knowing, this feeling of this is the place, this is home. And it was like that, click your fingers, apparently it's hard to find places here, but through contacts that had formed a few years before I even, it was through a chance encounter of a lady on a beach in East Cork with her dog that formed a contact for 2 years, that formed the contact and the link for getting a place here. That happened just within a week of making the decision of this is the place. And then it happened,
And are these things chance encounters, do you believe?
I think we're offered encounters all the time, and it's whether we choose to take them or not, I describe it as a sense of, so when I meet someone or have an experience, there's like a bubble just pops over their head and the word significance or significant comes in. And there's that knowing that person has a significant part on my path, whatever that's meant to be. And it mightn't play out for months or years or whatever. So that's why I feel they're more than chance, they're significances that we get to choose to engage with them or not.
Because I think a lot of the time, the people who come in and out of your life Often they're there to do a little job.
Yeah.
And that might be to point you in the direction of a lovely place to live.
Yeah.
Or in case of relationships, and we've all been through loads of relationships, just to get you from a point to another point.
100%.
And they might be there for all of 10 minutes or all of 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. It doesn't matter. They all play a role in who you are and what you do and the path you end up taking. And of course, that path brings the two of us here having this conversation today.
It does, it does. And what you're saying, I can pick out two friends. Kim, a beautiful friend from years ago, and she used to say to me, everything is a season, a reason, or a lifetime. So those people coming in, the meaning for it. And just like you're saying, you know, every relationship, every friendship, the season, reason, or lifetime, another friend would say, take the good and leave the bad, you know. But everything, I do believe, it brings us forward. It's meant to be. It's like all those stepping stones on the path. And it is, and we're here because of that, because of those significant chance encounters as such.
You knowing that here was perfect for you. On New Year's Day, good pals of ours, Catherine and Jerome.
Yeah. Yes.
And they do a New Year's Day walk from her house out to the pier. There's some sort of a castle there. And I met Claudia, who is from Switzerland. And she does a kale fodder bakery. You'd see her at the Skull Market maybe. And she was saying, and of course, when you're doing the charity walk, you're walking alongside her, so you get an opportunity to have a bit of a conversation. She was saying the minute she set foot in Ireland, she felt she was home. Yeah. It's kind of a huge thing to happen to anyone. And then again, I suppose the opposite isn't a very nice thing. If you drift through your life with a feeling that no place is home, and you don't properly belong to a place. Yeah. That must be unusual. As I said to you, I think you're incredibly interesting, and this is why I really wanted to chat to you. And the fact that it's the beginning of the year makes it even more relevant and more special, because I have been pushing you for a while to have this conversation. Yeah, and during the course of our chat, we might explain some of the connections between us, like our lovely dog, Bert.
Yeah.
So, Unbridling the Soul.
Yeah.
What a cool name for a business.
Thank you.
Can't even call it a business. It has to be, I guess, in a way, doesn't it?
I guess it is, because it's not a hobby.
Yeah. Okay.
So I guess it is, yeah.
And the fact that you have made a decision that this is how I want to spend my professional hours or my money earning hours. Yeah. Yeah, it becomes a different thing. But my God Almighty, what you do is so special. So before we get into that specifically, I'd like the listener to get to know you a little bit so we can join the dots together.
Sure.
So where are you from?
I'm from Inishannon, a mile outside Inishannon I grew up, which is just outside of Cork City, for geographical points. It's about 20 minutes outside Cork City, west of the city. So it's not West Cork as such, it's just a commuter village at this point, you know.
Yeah.
So I grew up within a family of 5, so youngest of 2 other siblings. And 2 parents, and grew up growing our own veg, chickens, ducks, you know, loads of animals, surrounded by animals. Yeah. Okay. In the countryside.
Yeah. What did your mum and dad do?
So my dad worked in a garage. He was kind of a valet, Kevin O'Leary garage in Cork City. They're kind of big garages in Cork City. He would have been a valet there for a long time, maybe up until I was about 7 or 8, you know, and he would have struggled with his own challenges of addiction. So he came out of that eventually. That kind of propelled him out of it. And then he would have been a painter and decorator, you know. When on good days he was painter and decorator, you know. And then my mom, she, up until probably I was 12, she would have done cleaning. She was full-time at home with us. She was growing her own food. So she would have taken cleaning jobs to kind of supplement and provide. She worked really hard to try and provide. And then she went into caring for the boys in St. Patrick's Upton. It was a home for boys at that time. Initially...
Was that like an orphanage for older boys, would you say?
Yeah, I think it had different kind of functions
Okay.
over the years as such. There were, I suppose the correct term is learning difficulties. People with learning difficulties or physical disabilities were there. And then also a home for boys. It was kind of ran by, as far as I understand, a priest and nuns initially. Initially, she went in there. There was the Upton Steam Rally. It was a massive rally every bank holiday weekend, June bank holiday weekend. And she was really good at sewing and crafting and making. So she used to take a group of the boys every day and she would teach them how to make teddy bears. So year round they were making teddy bears and crocheting and blankets. So making things, so giving the lads skills and kind of enhancing their day while making products to sell at the rally, which helped fund the workings of the school there as such. And then when that rally kind of declined or she stopped sewing and stuff like that, she went into a caring role then for them, until she retired. Yeah.
Ah.
So she's still alive. My dad would have passed maybe around 21 years ago, I'm going to say, but she's still alive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we were having this chat about the podcast generally and that question about the conversations around the dinner table.
Yeah.
So maybe if I don't ask you specifically about the conversation around the kitchen table, what was it like to be at the kitchen table in your house growing up?
What was it like to be at the kitchen table? I suppose I'll start with they're fundamentally good, kind people, but it was different times, Greg, and it was a real struggle and challenge for them. And so I always had this sense of this isn't right or this isn't normal as some, such kind of the dynamics that were in the house. So there was always this kind of around the dinner, there was a fraughtness, like even though we ate from the land and cooking was important and making food and we learned how to cook and bake and so on. The conversations I understand now were just surface. And I say that in a really respectful way. They were kind of functional. They weren't. It was only in later life I learned the healthiness of debating around a kitchen table and having deeper conversations and letting everyone have their own individual. I guess there was a lot of, at that time, management of conversations because there needed to be a persona put out to the outside world to kind of hide whatever was going on in the house, and I say that with I have no blame towards them. Everything that I lived through was really important to how I am today, but it really wasn't, there wasn't a natural flow in conversation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
It's clear from what you're saying that your dad had a struggle.
He did.
And despite that, it was a family unit with 5 children.
With 5 of us, exactly.
Which must have been like, over Christmas I had my son down with the 2 kids and wow, at times that's like hard going. If you're not very robust and there's things going on in your life that have led you into a place where you have an addiction, being in a family with everything that involves, like putting the bread on the table, and you obviously say your mum had to dig in an awful lot. The kids, and they're growing up with all their challenges and everything. It's a miracle. Someone who was struggling to kind of survive that and still, as best he could, I'm sure, hold that together. And while it was never perfect and probably far from it at times, I can only imagine what that must be like.
Yeah.
If you're trying to pull that trick off with not being right in yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be reasons for his addiction and all that kind of thing. Yeah, some people end up having imperfect lives and you still put one foot in front of the other and try your very best to get going. You, as a young woman living in that environment, how were you processing it? You were kind of saying to me you thought, this isn't exactly normal. You had the sense that it wasn't.
Just the sense of it, like looking back now, I have so much compassion for them. I really, really do. And that sense of this isn't, something is off here. And I suppose My safe place was animals, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your solace.
That was my solace. You know, there was a dog, there was several cats, there was horses in the neighbouring fields, you know, there was wild animals, and that was my solace. You would find me out there with them a lot of the time. That was my safe place. It was really how I made sense, and maybe it's how I began to recognise something is off here in the way I would see how animals would interact with each other and the unconditional love and the depth of their love and then their understanding. And I just thought everyone talked to animals. And then the sense of this isn't happening in the home. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
You were simply going out the door
Yeah.
to preserve your own mental well-being and your own ability to function.
Yeah.
And you were seeking solace in these animals.
Totally.
Did the animals know that this two-legged creature walking to them every day was a bit different to every other human being that they interacted with, do you think?
I look back now and I feel they must have known,
Yeah.
you know, because I interacted with them differently than the rest of the family. There was a grow there. We say grow in Ireland. There was a leaning in. There was a bond. There was a connection. There was this person who comes out with them and interacts with them totally different. Yeah, they must have known. And now, from what I know now with working with animals, they absolutely do know. So I don't doubt that my own animals knew, or the horses in the neighbouring field that I used to go and sit with and hang out with. And, you know, they must have known.
Yeah. And when you say sit with and hang out with, is this hours on end?
Oh yeah, like I would just be gone. Like, you know, you do your chores and you'd escape, and it developed a resilience. It developed a strength. It developed like a solace, a safe place. You know, hours. Oh my goodness, I could just spend hours hanging out with them.
Yeah,
happily.
So you weren't talking to a therapist, but in a way, you were chatting out loud, I presume.
Oh yeah,
to these beautiful creatures.
Yeah.
What used you say to them? Would it be just, were they your pals and were you hanging out, or were you talking about your problems or things you were struggling with?
Everything. Loving upon them, you know, rubbing them, playing with them, bringing the dog everywhere, thinking this is great, thinking it was great to care for these beautiful beings, and chatting to them about everything, my day in school, you know, things going on in the family, or just having fun. They were a sense of fun. Yeah.
How do you know they understood you?
And knowing how do I know now they understand me? How do I know that they ever understand me? There's just a knowing, and I guess now I have the word for telepathy, intuitive connection, just a knowing of like how they speak. I suppose I put it like we verbalize, we've the beauty of words and that we can verbalize it. They don't have that articulation of words, but they're still speaking to us. They're using words, but they're just not coming out their mouth. And so there was just that knowing. Now I can put words in it. You know, as an adult, I can put words in it. But I just knew. Yeah,
you'll often hear people who have a very close relationship with a pet saying things like, the dog always jumped on top of me, but when I had that injury in my hand, for some reason they knew not to jump on my arm.
Yeah.
Or when I was very sick, instead of poking at me to go out for a walk every day, they just quite happily sat at the foot of my bed.
Yeah.
If you listen to all the collective conversations that people have with their pets, you kind of get that sense of them that, they understand, they get this. And in your case, loads of them were getting them, and they were your confidence.
Totally. Absolutely. And this is it, like we can reason it out, and we can say, well, you know, dogs and cats and horses, they respond to routine, or they know that we feed them at certain times every day, or this is when they go for a walk, and we can look at those kind of set things in the day. But then, as you say, when we go beyond it, and like that, when I'm sick, they weren't pawing me to go for their walks. They knew. And I suppose in working with the animals, like what I understand is they're sensing beings. They see everything that's happening in a household. So your dogs are seeing your thoughts as real. They're hearing everything. They're understanding everything. They're not just there for the food at breakfast and dinner or the walks. They're there as this fully listening, unconditional, loving companion for you as such. And once I think we realise that, we can't as unhear it or unsee it. That they know, they're all knowing, and it was the same with the animals. I've no doubt that they knew what was going on in the house, and they used to just, animals would turn up from everywhere. I was always rescuing birds, and I came home with a horse one day, just had talked a guy into leaving me take his horse to graze on the land next door. Of course it didn't work out, it needed to go back, but there just always seemed to be cats turning up, and dogs and animals, and I do feel they came to support me, or what I could offer them as a child, and what they offered me in turn. They absolutely knew what was going on, Yeah.
When I'm watching a football match, Honey, one of our dogs, she leaves the room.
She's not interested.
I think it's more than not interested. I think she senses my tension.
Okay.
Honestly, and now, of course, Bert, God rest him, used to cuddle into you, and he'd stay there regardless, regardless of whether it's a good game or a bad game. But Honey leaves, and 100% I believe it's because I've got tense watching.
Yeah.
You don't want to be around me when I'm watching the game. I think they are very clever. Were all the animals the same? You were saying that you went out and there was the chickens and the dogs and the horses. Were they all the same in terms of understanding you, or was there a difference between the different types of animals, do you think?
There was an easiness with them. That's what I remember, an easiness. I could be going around to chicks and duckling in my pocket and cuddling them and holding on to them, or there was an easiness, and never an easiness. We weren't frightened of each other. We weren't wary of each other. The cats, the dogs, the horses. There was an easiness of just resting into each other's company. So if I would say, were they all the same? There was an ease. And I still feel that ease with animals today of companionship. Amazingly, I didn't get to share it with you. I fed the horses before you came, and something said, "Look out the window." And it's the first time I've seen it. There was a fox moving between the 4 horses, eating from their piles, And I was like, wow, there's that easiness. Animals do this when we really allow ourselves into their way and not forcing ourselves on them, but just be with them. They're easy with each other, and we can be easy with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was another dimension to you as well, I understand.
Yeah.
And something you didn't really understand properly at the time. But there is another level to Ellie.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that?
I can, yeah. I didn't have a language for it,
I'm not sure I have a language for it today, but we use some strange terms, which to anyone who's listening might sound a bit cuckoo or whatever.
Yeah,
but,
that's fine. Yeah.
But let's go there.
We can go there. I'm really good with skepticism, and I don't need to convince anyone of this. This is just what I see and feel and experience, and I feel I've been given this to work this in this life, and that's okay, so I'm okay with sharing it. I sense what we would, I guess, as humans, we would describe them as unseen presence, unseen forces. So spirits, angels, guides, and I've sensed them my whole life. We lived it was a small little cottage, and there was a little porch at the front with all glass, a living room, a kitchen, downstairs bedroom, and 2 rooms upstairs, just your standard typical little cottage. And I remember from very small, when I would go from the living room into the hall to go up to bed at night, and I would see all these faces and sense all these beings looking in the window at me, and kind of looking to reach me. I was never particularly frightened of it. I felt minded. And to this day, and through many, many experiences I've had, I feel they've minded me more than any physical being has ever been able to. So it's this sense of, someone might feel physically that they have a good family support around them, or they might have a good friend group around them. I feel I have this really strong spiritual group around me that has stayed with me, and that is part of the synchronicities and is part of kind of advising me and leading me. So it's this sense of this otherworldly beings around me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're heading to bed.
Yeah.
you see these faces.
Yeah.
Are they very clear?
A lot of the time they're quite clear. Yeah. A lot of the time they're quite clear. Yeah. So sometimes I will see with my eyes open, and then other times I'll close my eyes to see. So it's like close my eyes and it's up there that I see in my intuitive, in my third eye as such. So they can be clear. They can be people who have passed, but maybe still moving around this earth and not necessarily transition to a place of peace, whatever you want to call that, or believe in it or not believe in it. Other times I would see them as more angelic, more benevolent beings as such. And then other times they're actual animals in spirit, and they can differ. So there's a whole, it's not set as just one particular image. It can be many.
Would they be consistent? Are they the same faces? Or is this a very transitional thing?
There is what's the word, like a cohort. There is a team there that is consistently there. Like and I believe they will be with me till I pass. You know, they come in my work all the time. I chat to them. They're there consistently, and that comprises of a mix of people who would have passed, angelic beings, kind of spirit guides as I would see them. And then depending on where I am in life and what I'm doing, there'll be different ones come in. Yeah. Depending who I'm working with, whether that's human, whether that's a person, or whether I'm being asked to go and bring peace to a house because there's a disturbance there or something. So it will depend on the circumstance and situation then, you know.
Yeah, I had a very interesting character on the podcast last year, David Ellis.
I listened.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
And he was saying simple things like, you know, when a child is playing on the ground with their dinkies or with their dolls or whatever, and they're chatting away to a character, we all think they've got great imagination. But he's saying, no. Kids at that very pure state, they still have the ability to tune into that, I don't know, that spirit world or whatever language we'd like to use about it. That we lose that ability over time, that we all have it to some degree. Mm-hmm. So what I kind of came to learn from him, and I'm learning the same from you, is that some of us don't lose that ability. We can continue to see. Yeah. And is that you having a special ability, or do you think it's those spirits or those angel guides or whatever? Are they there saying, no, you need us a bit more than other people? I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I suppose there's probably a few answers. As I understand it, the young child, until they reach 7 or 8, that's when the cognitive thinking kind of kicks in, you know, and then dependent on family, whether they kind of support that seeing or not, circumstance, school, environment, and so on. So it's almost like the seeing, the dial can be turned down in it, or muted, or less. I do feel it's there for everyone to see. Are they there for me because I need them more? Well, I certainly feel minded and supported by them. Do I need them more than others? Probably necessarily, I've never thought of it in that way as such. Just that I feel I've been asked to do work on this earth, and they assist me in that, and I'm in service because of that and because of their support. You know, but I do feel that it's there for anyone to just turn back up that dial, turn back up that frequency, and tune in, for want of a better word, tune in to whoever is around you, you know. And I don't feel it's a set, same kind of beings around each person. I think it's based on our beliefs and our values and what we call in and what we're here to do. And it's as varied as all the shades of colour that there is. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe at that early stage you did need them.
I did, yeah.
But maybe then they figured out that, okay, we can work we can work with this woman because she does understand us in a way that maybe other people don't, or other people just shut down their ability to do that over time.
Yeah.
When did you start to understand that? Because it sounds like you weren't frightened by it in any way.
No, I wasn't. There was a warmth with them, just like an ease with the animal. There was a warmth with them, but I have no name for them.
Of course you wouldn't,
Nothing.
yeah.
I had no language for it.
You might call it a ghost.
Yeah,
if you watched Casper on TV or something.
Absolutely. And I do feel my mother sensed, and her grandmother, there was that sensing or seeing, but it wasn't something that they were kind of willing to open up to or show. I remember being really young and having this yellow lunchbox. Greg, I was probably 4 or 5. And I brought it into school, and I learned fairly quickly. I was junior, senior infants, and I used to open it, and like my spiritual friends were in it, and I used to bring them out, to play. But obviously, like, it wasn't the thing to bring to school, and it was shut down fairly quickly in school and at home. And so then I kind of realised, no, I need to keep this under wraps and private, So you asked the question, when did I come to? I wasn't afraid of them. When did I kind of come to understand and see them more? I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
So I had left school and started training as a chef. I was training as a chef, but I suppose holistic therapies came onto my radar, and I was intrigued by them and interested, and obviously those people dropped in that were meant to. And one of the first ones I trained in, it's called integrated energy therapy. It's angelic healing. That's what it's called. And I was kind of intrigued and went to it. And learned the training and the modalities and Reiki as well. So they gave me a language, words for what I had felt. So I was like, okay, there's words here for this. There's a language. This is something that's happening. But where did I stop feeling? Where did I start sensing them more? There was an experience, Greg. We can cut it out if you want, okay? But it's where I really began to see the power of them, and that I would absolutely be always minded by them, without a shadow of a doubt. It was, I suppose, what you'd call like a spiritual experience. I had been at the angelic healing training, and I just felt this thing. I do protect my energy out of respect. It's like a builder going up to do a roof. He puts up a scaffolding. Why does he put up a scaffolding? Because he respects himself. He's not just going to climb up there and risk his life and the people in the house. So protecting my energy is like the scaffolding energetically.
Yeah, wear a helmet, wear safety boots.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I would describe it, So I was at this training and I felt the energy wasn't being fully kind of scaffolded or protected. And I remember leaving it, and I don't know why to this day. Some things we only remember bits of it. I was collecting a puppy in Cork City after that training and to deliver it to a friend's in East Cork. Picked up the puppy, no bother, and it was in the back seat, and for some reason the dog vomited. Once, twice. And you have dogs. If you've been in a car with a dog who's vomited, like the stench is horrific, like it's really bad, or a child or whatever.
We have a new dog and she doesn't like travelling. Or she really doesn't.
Yeah, and so I'm driving along and I could feel this massive force, and what I would describe as it wasn't warm, it wasn't an easy force around the car, and it was almost like the dog had vomited, maybe it had induced a vomit in it, so I would open the windows, and I felt if I open the windows, this energy is going to come in on me, So I just said, I need the smell of vomit to go immediately. I need it to go until I get to that house because I cannot open the windows. And this was a good 45 minute drive, and the smell of vomit went. Gone. Like nothing. Drove to the house, and as soon as I pulled into the yard to hand over the dog, the smell of vomit was back. So I was like, okay, thank you. Gave the dog, asked again, could it be gone until I reach home, and home was maybe 10-15 minutes. So there was no one at home that night. My daughter wasn't born at this stage. She wasn't even on the radar as such. I was married at the time. My husband was working nights. And so I was in, and I could sense this, like this energy patrolling the house. And I lived in a house that was 100 years old. It was an old house with fireplaces in all the bedrooms. You know what I mean? It had told a lot of stories. And it just came in. It said, you need to do an altar in the bedroom tonight. The bedroom I slept in, and it had an old fireplace. And you need to lock this down and really protect yourself. But we're going to mind you. You're going to learn something really valuable tonight, but we're going to mind you in it. So I did, and they said you just need to burn a candle for the whole night. And when I'm saying that's my guide speaking to me, So I didn't feel frightened. I just felt I'm going to move through something tonight that I need to learn, that this will be a tool and a skill or whatever. So I left candles lighting in the mantelpiece for the night, and I went away to sleep. we lived on a busy road, and the road was quiet. It was late at night. And it was around 4 o'clock in the morning. And like people, when I've told this story, they've said, oh my God, you must have been high. You must have had a drink. And I wasn't. I was stone cold sober, just to clarify. And I heard the back door opening downstairs. And I went, okay, we're here. This is it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Here we go. We're running. We're gone, you know. And I heard the footsteps coming up the stairs. And it was a two-way staircase up, across the landing. And I kind of moved myself up in the bed, and the door physically opened. And this went on for 2 hours. The door would open, and I had called in like all my guides, and I was like, I really need your help right now. And I was a believer in Archangel Michael, you know, I really need your help. And it was this entity, and I could see them, and they had presented themselves like a physical being. And as the door opened, they came in, and for that 2 hours, the door would open. They came in as a grown man, as a grown woman, you know. And as they came in to try and, I guess, frighten me or come and, you know, be in with me as such, it was like the curtains drew back and there was this massive fluttering of wings, but it wasn't fluttering. And it was Archangel Michael, and it was the whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And he literally, every time, just picked up this being and chucked him out the window. And for 2 hours this went on, and I sat up in bed, and the downstairs door would open, and the footsteps up the stairs, and my bedroom door physically open, and it would come in and come in and come in. And the last one that it came in was, I think of your granddaughter, beautiful, innocent little girl, gorgeous, you know. And I actually went, you are joking me. Like, really? You're gonna try and win me over here by being a little girl, thinking there's no way that I am going to ask Archangel Michael to chuck a little girl out the window. But I did, because I knew he was presenting as that. And then just deathly silence, like absolute deathly silence, but a peaceful silence. It stopped. And the last one was the little girl. And I just went, okay, you've shown me that no matter what you ask me to interact with, no matter what houses you ask me to clear, no matter what forces I see or whatever, I'm minded. I'm fully minded, I'm protected, I'm guided. It was a life-turning moment for me in like, okay, we're going to work together. Yeah.
We can embrace this, would you call it a skill or an ability?
Yeah.
Safely.
And that's it.
So
and
you don't need to worry about it.
That's it. And so I've never, it kind of reaffirmed, I suppose there was no fear growing up, but as an adult, you know, I can come to a more fearful place, of course, you know, but it just reaffirmed there is nothing to fear here. So I would fear the living more than the dead.
Yeah. We were, the usual Christmas thing, zipping through the different TV channels. As Dee said, it was like going to Extra Vision or whatever, spending hours just going to, oh my God, what will we watch tonight? So we landed on a Stephen King thing, and I think Julianne Moore was in it, so I thought it must be okay. I just turned this off. Anything that's disturbing to me like that, I don't want to take that energy to bed with me. Just forget about it. I never liked horrors or whatever. Or can you remember the first practical application of this ability? You know, you were saying you started to understand it when you were 20.
Yeah.
But was there a moment where you were able to use that ability either for you or for someone? I said you were using it for yourself the whole time.
I was.
But
yeah.
When was the first time that you, and maybe whoever you used that ability with or for, didn't even realize it? But did you realize I can actually assist with a particular predicament here? When was the first time that you would have done that?
God, there's been so many.
Yeah.
I probably...
And was that a realization that I have a power here?
It was probably, I suppose, yeah. I think of it, I suppose, as a skill, as a way of being able to bring peace. You know, I suppose where some of the first times of using it, because I trained in Reiki, so like people coming in for Reiki sessions, or angelic healing sessions.
But that's you operating as a professional, you know.
Yes.
You've done a bit of training.
Yes.
But I'm thinking about the time when you realise you have this ability around the spirits, or
yes.
you're tuned in a particular way that other people aren't. And you've used it, and that must be a shocker to you. You're like, oh, jeepers, I can do this.
Yeah, it's never felt spectacular or theatrical, you know. It's just, I I'm trying to think of one of the times. I remember getting a call to, it was around Christmas time as well. The young girl was very disturbed, very upset because what she was seeing in their house, and the parents were deeply upset. They were open to this, but they knew there was something coming into the bedrooms, to the girl, to them. They knew there was something kind of moving around in the attic, and they had been coming to me, I guess, for Reiki sessions or whatever.
But someone needs to know that Ellie does that there was a moment when no one knew you could assist in these circumstances to the next day people knew, wow, she can do that. Do you know what I mean?
I do. It was probably synchronistic, chance encounters, chance conversations. Okay. So this family were, they were coming for Reiki sessions, and then in the course of conversation, realizing whatever they shared, that I'm sharing about spiritual aspects or seeing or whatever, and that they asked me then to come and clear their house and work with their daughter and what was going on and disturbances in the house. So, yeah.
Were you surprised to get a request like that?
It felt, okay, I wasn't surprised because I suppose I've lived with these, so I felt it was like a natural continuation. Okay, this is where you're showing me to go, this is what you're asking me to do, because it wasn't something, I get what you're asking, it wasn't something I widely advertised, but it was true conversations happening. So each experience that I would have would lead to different conversations,
I study as an accountant, and then someone hears you're an accountant, they knock on the door and, can you do my accounts? But obviously people have to have that awareness of you, and I presume in a way you probably at a very early stage, while you're trying to find an outlet for disability, you probably thought you might find that in things like Reiki or something spiritual. So was there a hunger in you and an intrigue about looking for an outlet for this thing that you don't fully understand?
Yeah, there was. I always felt there was this desire, this it was bringing animals and humans together, and it was bringing peace and harmony to the humans, to the animals, and then with this spiritual sense, there was a hunger and there was an openness and a willingness to kind of be led, to not know the full path, There's something that comes to mind, and it just might explain the kind of like unseeing work that goes on there. Like, it's a more recent case, but I don't advertise for house clearings, or as a friend affectionately calls it. It's not
on your list of services on your website, Ellie.
As my friend affectionately calls it, ghostbusting,
I'll kick the spirits out.
Yeah, but so how does it happen? And this is so one of these synchronistic moments, and I suppose there's been many of them. And the lady has said it's okay to share the story. So, and I think I shared some of it with you. It's the dog Max. This was initially an animal communication session. This lady reached out, and the dog was experiencing health difficulties, So
we have to blow the whistle on the conversation.
Yeah.
Animal communication. You have to open the door. Okay, tell me about that, and then we can talk about Max. This is one of the services that you offer. So come on. We're going to blow your cover now and go right in.
Animal communication, it's another one that I trained in because it came onto my radar. I always talk to animals, and then I realized, oh my God, that you can actually hone this. You can train this up in this skill and develop it and offer it. So I did. I trained up in it. I went to courses. I've read books. I've studied it, and then experiences with animals. And it is one of the services I offer. I am a translator, a bridge between humans and animals. Yeah.
Okay. And what I understand is from a very early age, seeking solace from the chaos or whatever, the stress of the family home, you are so happy out there chatting with the animals, and your relationship with them goes so deep, deeper than more because of the amount of time you understand them, and you get the rhythms of them and all that kind of stuff, and you get the response back from them. And so many years on, you have that skill. But, and we know from our interactions, that doesn't have to be an in-person experience.
No.
It's not ring Ellie and she's going to come out to see little Bert.
No.
You can actually do this at a different level. And I think the basic instruction is it to, all we need to do from whatever corner of this earth is send you a photograph of our pet. Is it any pet?
Yeah, any pet, absolutely.
Yeah.
So literally from where you're sitting is where I would do it.
And the photo needs to...
What are the requirements as such? What do I need? So because I'm literally dialing in to your animal's frequency. So I'm locking into that. So what do I need? I just need a clear picture, but particularly its eyes, because it's like the eyes of the window to the soul, you know, and not to have anyone else in the picture, and no like bright light, like or sunlight affecting the colour of the eyes. Just that
so just a good natural photograph of the animal's face.
Exactly.
With their eyes. Okay.
Exactly. That's it. So that is, and usually their name. And sometimes, you know, as much information as possible. Sometimes there's no information. There's times, Greg, I don't even know where they're living in the world. I don't need that. It's like a radio in the kitchen and you want to get that particular station from Dallas or wherever. And you dial into that frequency and you dial and you move. And then you go, oh, that's crystal clear. So that's literally what I'm doing with a particular animal. Yeah. Like a massive energetic cord to them. But I'm asking permission from them. Yeah.
And the eyes are the frequency. Really.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're now tuned into Max, this trouble dog.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You tell us. So I felt I needed to fill in some of the background.
Rein me in a little bit.
Because I'm saying, how do we get from there to there? Okay.
I know. So as an example of like, how kind of things happen. So this lady contacted me, her dog, Max. She just felt he was really off form. She couldn't put her finger on it. They had started building work in the house, massive renovation and it had gone on for 18 months. And over that period of time, one of the things she just kind of mentioned, he'd stopped sleeping in their bedroom. He was taken to not wanting to come out of the car after walks. She felt maybe there was something wrong. At times he would kind of fall and drop a bit. So she didn't know why he wanted to stay in the boot of the car more. Why did he not want to come in the front door? And why did she said it was like she was having to move things out of the way of the back door. She wondered, was his sight okay? He just seemed really off. There wasn't a full, clear way of him coming into the house. And so she had questions. Did he want to be lifted? Was he in pain? What was going on for him? And so it was what I would experience a typical request for an animal communication session. It is, there's something going on, something has happened in the animal's behaviour, they're presenting with something and they want to know what's there for the animal. So I do what I always do, ask for the clear photo, explained how it works. And initially, because my work is based on consent, I'll reach out energetically to that frequency from where you're sitting. And I shared with Max who I am, what I do. Will he speak with me? Will he work with me? And I won't work with any animal unless they say yes. And we went from there.
I hope you can join me on part 2 of this podcast, where Ellie tells us all about Max and the different and quite unusual services that she offers, including how her horses are used to help people heal. Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.